pass and then built on top of that, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They were outstanding. And that man in your picture there is coming to speak to us. He'd be delighted with his team. The way that they took on task. You know this place is like, over the last 10 years, the most difficult place to come in the Premier League. It's been very, very difficult. And he's set up his team, and they've done a job. And then right to the endings as well. It wasn't just for it was all through the game.
Hi, Thomas.
Well done, boss.
Hey, good to see you.
Thank you for coming out to join us, Thomas, and congratulations. Just tell us what makes you the most proud after that performance.
Now, I think this is one of the most difficult places to go to in the Premier League. A City side that need to bounce back from last season. You can see they came with everything. And I think before our goal, I think without them dominating us, they were more on top overall in the game. But we stayed in it. We're solid, top mentality. And there will be games like this. We also early days. I know not even if we're early days. Let's say in 3 years' time we are fantastic. It's still tough in games to come here, for example. And then after the 1-0 goal, I think actually we were more or less the better side. And I'm very impressed with how we stepped up second half. And there were some big moments where we could have killed the game off.
I was going to ask about that second half as well, because you said it's early days, but have we already seen sort of a little evolution and lessons learned after what happened in the PSG game, the way you managed that second half?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. I think this is also 10 days later, so it's not only the learning from that game, also the learning from that game, but I think especially the high pressure was consistently good second half, and they struggled to get out of that. And that I'm very happy with.
Thomas, can I say, sorry, fantastic performance first and foremost, and a great result. For you coming into Spurs, it's an unusual time to come into a club because such a difficult season in the league, but they'd won a trophy. So what did you find when you walked into the room in terms of the confidence and the mentality of the players?
I think I found actually a very strong mentality in the players. It was a group of players that's been through a tough season, ending on a high, but I think that those tough moments have pulled them even closer together. So great mentality in many ways, and then we had to build on that.
Yeah, have you noticed more scrutiny? It's obviously it's a huge club, Tottenham, and there's all the eyes are on you now, and there's expectations. Have you noticed that's ramped up from your previous clubs?
I would say, of course, I'm aware of it, but I'm not on social media.
Yeah.
I'm very rarely.
Good choice.
Yeah, thank you.
Wise man.
I'm very, because of what you just said there.
Yeah.
I don't think it does any good to anyone, in my opinion. Secondly, I read very, very little in the media.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't give me any good. Half of it is, I can't swear, so half of it is wrong, and half of it is just, clickbait.
Yeah.
So I doesn't read too much. And I think, how can I say, I love football, but the other bit, I don't care.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thomas, you're obviously really big on set pieces, and one thing I picked up on is how aggressive you were from their goal kicks, but also the detail from your goal kicks, which actually led to both goals. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Thank you.
Is that not true?
Yeah, I think definitely big on set piece, and I agree. On our goal kick, we tried to play out, and think that was quite successful at times. But the big thing is how we press from a goal kick, and how that's also linked to the high pressure. And as you can see, we go man, and that's big for us, big for me.
Thomas, you're only the second manager who's come here with two different clubs in the Premier League and one away at Man City, joining Antonio Conte against Pep Guardiola. Just how proud does that make you on a personal level, that achievement?
First and foremost, Pep is, I've said it before, I think he's an unbelievable manager. He's been a manager I've been looking up to for many years, studied, followed in detail. The other manager, Conte, is also a manager I've studied for many years. So it's two of the big boys. So I'm proud of that, yeah.
And can I ask you about Richarlison today? He got an assist on top of his 2 goals last week as well. Is that position now up front for Dominic Solanke to try and get back in there? And how much do you like having that competition?
I think, again, Richie, performed well today. Top assist, presence up there, work ethic, everything was very good about it. And we need 2 good strikers. We are going to play a lot of games. And of course, Richie is now starting, so we just need to keep his shirt.
And just over a week left of the transfer window.
Sorry.
Just over a week left of that window. Obviously, a lot of talk this week about a player who didn't arrive. But what would be the ideal for you before the end of that window? What do you want?
I think as showed today, we have a strong squad, a strong group of players that I believe a lot in. Of course, we would like to add a bit, but only if we can strengthen the squad. So yeah, we're looking to adding, hopefully succeeding. I know the club is working very hard, and I trust them.
Thomas, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done, boss.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thomas, well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you.
Thomas Frank saying that they're looking to strengthen. They obviously show that the players they do have are pretty good themselves, Karen. But what do they need? Do they still have to get that sort of number 10, that player who can link the midfield and the attack?
He mentioned it there. It's a long season. They've got a lot of football matches and we're only 2 in. And top end of the pitch is really important to them. Defensively, we've seen today how structured and disciplined they are. But obviously, they lack that creativity with Kulichevsky and Maddison not out. So that, I'm sure, will be the area they're looking to strengthen in.
Okay, well, we Karen Carney and Joe Cole watching with me. And Karen, at the start of this game, we said this was going to be a good gauge. We would find out a lot about exactly where these two teams are at in relation to the rest of the season. What were the big things that we learned?
I think from a City's perspective, I was surprised at how disconnected they were today as opposed to last week, where I was like, wow, it felt like City was back last week. And today, totally different performance, just in possession. They wasn't sure, they wasn't positive, taking people on and looked vulnerable. And credit to Spurs, brilliant game plan, really structured, really disciplined, and picked the moments and executed the game plan superbly.
It just goes to show, Joe, you can't get carried away after one game, and we do need a bigger sample size.
Yeah, of course you do. And it was a different test for Manchester City today. Tottenham came here and Thomas Frank set up his team fantastically well. And you've got to give the credit to the lads. The work rate and effort that is already instilled into this team. You know, it's a marathon, not a sprint. We're going to have to see how it unfolds as the season goes on. But for Spurs fans, they'll be looking at that and licking their lips because you've got midfielders with talent, with aggression. They're grafting for each other.
And all different attributes as well.
All sorts, you know. And the window's still not shut. You've got Solanke on the bench, Richarlison who's reborn. So many positives for Tottenham.
Okay, let's have a look at that first goal, Joe, as well. Because one of the things we saw in that first half was Spurs pulling the City fullbacks out of position.
Lewis, this is what they're doing is all day. They were taking Lewis and both fullbacks out of position, getting it in, and then what they do is then they attack down the wings and they get overloads. You look at Lewis there and that space, and they were just feeding it into positions. And Manchester City could not deal with that, and the goal came from that as well. Again, it's a goal kick. They're not fiddling about with it. Take Aki right high. Sarr sees the space, he runs into it, gets a flick on, run, and all of the Tottenham, they're breaking into the box. It's a good ball in from Richarlison. It's a wonderful finish. But what they did so well, they were doing that consistently, dragging Manchester City centre-halves out of position. Look, cross is coming in, there's not a centre-half in sight. And that was happening too often. Like I said, Manchester City will have to brush up on that if they're going to improve. But Tottenham have got all the attributes to hit not just Manchester City, many teams. I fancy them against the top 4 or 5 because the way they play is a real nightmare for a possession-based team because they've got such willing runners and such good quality just to feed it in there.
And the second goal, another avoidable one, Karen, for Manchester City.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to remember that these are set pieces and Thomas Frank really focuses on them. James Trafford just got to play it simple and he doesn't. He plays it right into a trap, and credit to Spurs, pounce on it, and obviously Polini there finishes. These are the options that he has. Just play it there to your right, to your centre-back, to Stones. He's got the time and space and you can build out. Or 1v1 with Haaland. But instead you play it into the right of the trap there where Tottenham are going, go on, put it in there. As soon as they do it, bang, we snap in, we're physical, we're aggressive. And now all of a sudden you're scrambling. And I did feel that Trafford, after that moment, he really lost his confidence in the game. And it completely rattled Man City today. Couldn't deal with the press and just didn't have really any solutions to it. But credit to Spurs.
How hard will that be for James Trafford to respond to, Joe, to go from such a good performance last week to that happening today?
It's the life of a goalkeeper. You know, it's high tariff, Linz. You know, one week you're the hero, the next week something like that, and then people will ask questions. You know, unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast when you are a goalkeeper. So, listen, he's a young man. I've got full faith in him. I've watched him play at Burnley last year. He was outstanding. for England under 21s, it was brilliant. And you don't play for Manchester City, you don't play for Pep unless you know what you're doing. What would have helped him is the Donnarumma noise that is coming out in and around it, you know.
Will that step up now, do you think, even more?
Well, listen, that's it. And what I know of the lad and what you hear about him from people who've worked with him is that he will step up, you know, and that's what you need. So you have to go through the fire with goalkeeper. Every goalkeeper would tell you they've made mistakes like that in their younger days, and you have to go through the fire and come through. I thought he looked a little bit shaky afterwards, but overall there was no more mistakes after that game. So you just put that to bed and move on now for him.
Joel already talked about that Spurs midfield, Karen. He made the changes from last week, but does that just go the strength and depth he has in those areas and the qualities they've got? Yeah,
I mean, he's brought in Palhinha back into the team today, and obviously I think Ali gave him player of the match. He was instrumental in both goals, and obviously Palhinha then gets his second as well. But the physical nature of them, the game understanding, the experience of both of them, I love this, celebrating blocks, tackles. You know, this is what we saw from Palhinha when he was in his time at Fulham, and it's reading of the game. And, you know, when you're playing against City, you need people just to block those little passes, and Tapia there doing really, really well. But what they did really well, though, was, Joe, they found the length.
Today, what did you make of their performance?
I had the feeling it was a little bit better than the result, so we start well. We concede a goal like that could happen, but the simple things, I miss the simple things with the ball. We lost with the quality they have, that individually our simple things with the ball, we miss it, and that's why, of course, they can transition, and after, of course, score the second in the edge of the first half was difficult. We need one goal. We had the chances, and the penalty don't given from Oscar, and after the chance from Erling and Ryan, and we have chances at the end, of course, some transitions of them. So, and we didn't read much well, so it's my marking and pressing that we knew it from, because Thomas has do it and happen. We have to track and play in different way that we played. But in the final third was really good. We don't concede. We control the transitions, but yeah, the result is not good. But it's a long way, and we will learn from that.
Did you feel like you had a lot of control of the game before they scored, and then why was it so difficult to get that back?
It happened sometimes. All the time when sports happen, so they punish us always in that position. Can happen on action, but they didn't do anything. But even with that, before the goal and after the goal, it was slippery and many times, and the simple things, the passes, we didn't break, and we didn't make, I would say, our build-up. They were so narrow, put the ball more outside, and from there try to make the actions. But yeah, we will read, because many teams today is a lot of pressing, high pressing. You have to read for that.
Was it a big difference facing Thomas Frank's Spurs side to the Spurs of last season?
It's the beginning of the game, so I'm not going to say now if Thomas is better than Anjo, Anjo is better than Thomas. So it's a question of the Spurs. So for me, Spurs always have been a good team, and last season was, and this season again.
Aït-Nouri had to come off injured in the first half. Is that anything serious?
I don't know. I didn't speak with the doctors yet.
There's just over a week left of this transfer window, and I know you've been asked a lot about your squad size. Obviously, the bigger it is, the more options you have, but it means having to leave players at home. So what's more important, having those options or keeping your squad happy?
The right balance. So the players don't play for a long time is not good, but you have to have enough players to play every 3-4 days in this demanding league. So we will see. We have a long week with the club. We talk with the players, agents, and we'll see.
Akanji and Gundogan were both left out of your squad completely today. Is that an example of that?
Last game was Rodri and Phil Foden.
Up next for you, Brighton. How important is it that you bounce back and get a win as you head into the international break?
Now we have 7 days, so we have recover and analyze and talk and start to train. As much as we maintain that rhythm that we are maintaining from already a long time, we're a moment that we will find the right balance and we do it.
Pep saying he had a feeling it would be better today, Karen. Just how big a drop-off was the performance from last week? Where do you feel they struggled the most?
I think he mentioned it, the simple things. The 5-yard passes, taking someone on, over touching things. And obviously then Spurs gained confidence and Spurs picked them off in those moments. But it did feel a little bit disconnected. They're still a young group and he's trying to embed some new players in a little bit. But it's still very early and he's a top manager, and I'm sure he'll get a tune out of him.
He said as well he wants to trim that squad. Jules asked there about Gundogan and Akanji. He's had to leave them in the freezer, as he's called that before. He doesn't like it. He said it's impossible for his soul when he's having to leave players out. Joe, just how imperative is it for him that they get that squad size down?
Especially players who've done such a great job for you, I'm sure managers find it, especially someone like Pep, who seems like he likes to be close to his players. He likes that personal connection. He likes to feel that. So, football's the only game in the world where you have to sack someone on Saturday morning and rehire them again on Monday, because effectively that's what you're doing. You're saying, well, we don't need you for this job, but next week we'll need you. So it's a difficult one to manage with players. And when you've built up over many, many years. He's been here a long time, remember. He's gone for a lot with them type, like particularly Gundogan. He brought him back, and now he's not playing. So I understand that, and that's a personal thing. But ultimately, we're a results business, and you need to put the players on the pitch you think are going to win you that game.
And looking for results, it's a tough run coming up. It's Brighton away next weekend. Then they've got the Manchester derby here after the international break, followed by Arsenal away, Karen. That is a daunting run they've got ahead, City, as they try once again to prove that they are genuinely back.
Yeah, but look, they've been through this before in terms of the next game's a big game, the game after. This is why they were so successful in the last season, the seasons obviously before that. But, he'll get a response out of them. He's also got a new staff that you're going to have to lean on to bring the energy and get these players back up again. It didn't feel right. They were disconnected today. The individual quality wasn't there, but there's always a next game to respond.
Yeah. Polinia with the goals, and this is some of your response on social media. Philip says that it was a Thomas Frank masterclass, perfectly executed by the Spurs players. And the Chief says that's a bad result. Shades of last season in the performance. Teams will fancy their chances against us. And the Spurs web saying, back Thomas Frank with absolutely anything he wants. Back him now. Is there a worry, do you think, from Spurs fans that there is a little bit of a history of the managers not being backed? Karen, there.
Yeah,
through.
Yeah, and obviously what's happened the last few weeks, we've lost out on potential 2 marquee signings. But, the manager came over, he said he trusts the team and trusts the staff to bring in the players that he wants. So I'm sure there will be people coming in, but it will be typical maybe last minute of Spurs.
What would be the dream, do you think, for Spurs? What would make the fans happy at the end of the window?
At the end of the window? I can't see there being much more happening. I think it's Daniel. No, I think Daniel Levy's he's a great position. He ain't spent a lot of money. He seems to have got you've had 2 great results. Squad's moving. I don't think he'll go and get somebody that is of age and ready to go. I think there'll be a few young players that come in that'll bolster the squad.
Savinho, do you think after today, do you think that's more or less likely?
After today, I think the Savinho deal is less likely. It could possibly happen. It depends, because we don't know what's happening with financial fair play. We don't know what the needs of certain buying clubs and selling clubs in terms of what they need to do. But you're sitting there at Daniel Levy going, I'm pretty set there with what I've got. Maybe one young player coming.
You've got Kulusevski out till January. You've got Maddison injured for probably most of the season, and you haven't got Son. Surely you've got to bring in that sort of creative player.
The thing with Savinho, though, you look at City and Pep's saying I want to trim my squad, so you're going, well, maybe is there anyone there? And I think that is a player that I do think coming in.
But would he be like your Son replacement, and you still need that more central player, that creative link, do you think?
But you might be able to put Kudus there. You might be able to move and adjust someone in that. He's a top manager. He can move players around. They're not fixed to one position. But I do see that Savinho thing happening. I do think that might happen.
Looking ahead to the rest of the football this weekend, it is a big one. On Monday night, Liverpool heading to St James's Park, Joe. Just how feisty, on a scale of 1 to 10, do we think that atmosphere is going to be?
It'll be very feisty. It'll be electric. A night game. Tensions will be high. Players, it's a classic game in any way. It seems that some games seem to take on a new life, and this is one of them. Add on with the Isaac situation, I think it's going to they'll be at it. There'll be tackles. I even fancy a red card or a couple of red cards in the game. I think it'll be a great game.
Eddie Howe in his press conference again, very, very dignified with the way he's handling all this, not saying anything at all bad about the player in question, Karen? He just keeps saying he'll be welcomed back when he's ready. He's family. But for you, do you think it's past the point of no return?
I think Newcastle are in control. You've got a player that's got, I think, 3 years left. They won't sell unless they have someone of the same quality coming in, and I don't see that happening. So no one wins at this moment, and I'm not sure what happens, if I'm honest, but I think Newcastle hold the cards.
The trouble he's made two good double save at the end of the game there. No one remembers that. All anyone's talking about, because the pressure's on him, because they've got a goalkeeper who's won everything at the football club sitting on the bench watching him play. Now, that goalkeeper is trying to help him out as well. I'm sure he is in training. But the managers said, no, you're my number one. The window's still open, so they might bring someone in. Perhaps Ederson might leave. Galatasaray, there's a lot of noise around that. He's going to be under pressure now. He's made a rod for his own back, but I don't necessarily... Jolien's absolutely right. It's not necessarily his fault. It is the way he's being asked to play. He's being asked and he's making them decisions. When he's playing for Burnley, you can get away with him. When you're playing at the top end of the Premier League, unfortunately, you're going to get punished and it's going to get highlighted, and it's how you deal with it. Ederson's made mistakes like that before, but he dealt with it because he was being brought into the football club. He's been brought back to the football club. He's still a young man. He's got everything ahead of him, but he needs to see how he reacts to this, because that's going to be the key to his future.
Tricky afternoon then, wasn't it, for Manchester City's defenders? Let's hear from one of them, in Ruben Dias.
Not the result you wanted today. How did Spurs make it difficult for you out there?
I mean, they're obviously a team with many individualities. We know of it. They can be obviously very dangerous. We started the game very well. Obviously, the first goal made us maybe feel like a step back when things were not pointing that way. Felt like we didn't react the best way, as in sticking to our game and obviously keep doing what we were doing before. Obviously, the second goal, it's unfortunate. It happens. It cannot happen. But then, after that, we chased. Obviously, a lot of things to get better. But yeah, just like not everything was perfect on our first game. Not everything is bad now, and we have to go back to work.
Did you feel in control of the game before they scored?
Yeah, I felt like the team was slowly getting more and more control, and we are getting closer and closer to scoring. I mean, I felt like that was a strong vibe in the game we were playing. But yeah, well, the rest I just told you.
After a good win last week, how disappointing was it not to get a first win in front of your home fans today?
Yeah, I mean, frustrating. We want to win even more at home for our fans, our first home game. But it is what it is. It's football. We look forward.
For you personally, it's been a positive week after signing a new contract, and we know Erling Haaland committed his long-term future to the club last season as well. What does that say about the future of Man City?
I mean, it says about our ambition. It says that we want to stay here. We want to win trophies, and that's the mentality of the club. Nothing has changed.
You missed a lot of football last year, and I'm just looking down and you've got an ice pack on your leg. Everything okay?
Yeah.
Good. Thank you for talking to us.
I think, Jolie, and Manchester City will be hoping this is just an early season blip. You mentioned before kick-off that Pep will still see these first few games as pre-season, working things out.
Yeah, definitely. But like Tim said before the game, you don't want to fall behind Liverpool. And that'll be their focus is we need to stay above Liverpool for as long as possible. And the more you do that, the more chance you have of winning the league. And as you said, Spurs isn't an easy game for Man City and Pep in any season. But after the back of last season, it may have a bigger impact.